everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to break down the essential techniques of risk assessment. We're diving into the kind of structured thinking that professionals use to make really smart, safe decisions when the stakes are high. So let's get right into it. You know, it's a fundamental question, isn't it? Whether you're managing a massive project or just trying to keep your workplace safe, we're all constantly up against uncertainty. The answer really is having a system, a structured way to think about what could possibly go wrong. And this gets to the core idea right away. Risk isn't this big, scary thing to be avoided at all costs. I mean, that's impossible. As it says right here, risk is just a part of doing business. The real goal, the magic, is to understand it, to analyze it, and most importantly, to manage it. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basic vocabulary, then walk through the 4-step process and the all-important risk matrix. After that, we'll get into control strategies and wrap up with the really critical idea of the ALRP principle. Okay, first things first, we've got to get our terms straight. To really manage risk effectively, we all need to be speaking the same language. So what is a risk assessment, really? Well, at its heart, it's a formal process. This isn't about guesswork. It's about systematically looking at 2 key things. 1, the chance of something bad happening, and 2, just how bad it would be if it did. This whole process is the bedrock for every smart safety decision you're going to make. Next up is this idea of residual risk. This one's super important. Even after you've put in all the guards, written all the procedures, and done all the training, there's often a little bit of risk left over. Think of it as the leftover risk. And just acknowledging that it exists is a huge step toward being truly prepared. And that leads us right into risk acceptance. Now, this isn't about being careless or just throwing in the towel. It's a conscious, strategic decision that happens after a thorough assessment. It's where management looks at that leftover risk and says, okay, balancing the costs and benefits, we can live with this level. All right, so we've got the lingo down. Let's move on to the actual process. How do the pros put this all into practice? Well, they use a really clear 4-step cycle. You can see how this builds, right? It's so logical. You start by figuring out what could hurt someone. That's identifying hazards. Then you analyze the risk they pose. Next, you do something about it. You implement controls. But the last step is maybe the most crucial. You have to keep monitoring and reviewing, because this isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It's a living cycle. Now, in step 2, analyzing the risk. Professionals have this incredible tool they rely on, the risk matrix. Honestly, this thing is a total game changer for taking abstract data and turning it into a clear, visual picture of the danger. And the whole matrix is built on these 2 really simple but powerful ideas. On one axis, you've got likelihood. Basically, what are the odds of this thing actually happening? And on the other axis, you've got severity. If it does happen, how bad is it going to be? And here's what it looks like when you put those 2 things together. You just plot likelihood against severity, and bam, the matrix instantly sorts the risk into a category: low, medium, or high. That color coding makes it so obvious where you need to focus your attention. You see red or orange, you know you've got to act, and fast. Let's make this super practical with a quick example. Picture a water spill on a factory floor. We might look at it and say the likelihood is occasional, and the severity, well, if someone slips, it's probably a marginal injury. So we find those points on our matrix, trace them with our fingers, and we see it lands right in the medium risk zone. Now we know we need to deal with it, but maybe it's not a drop everything right now kind of problem. So you found a medium risk. Now what do? The next step is picking the right solution, the right control measure. And it turns out there's a definite pecking order, a hierarchy for which solutions work best. Now, the key here is the hierarchy. You always start at the top. The absolute best thing you can do is just completely design the hazard out of existence. If you can't do that, you move down to engineering controls, like physical barriers, then safety devices, then new procedures. And way down at the bottom, as a last resort, you have personal protective equipment, or PPE. And we have to be honest about why this order matters so much. As you can see here, the further down that list you go, the more you're relying on people to do the right thing, every single time. And let's face it, we're all human. That's why engineered solutions are so much more reliable, and why there's almost always some of that residual risk left over. So, if we can't always get risk down to 0, how do we decide what's good enough? How do we actually define an acceptable level of risk? This brings us to our final and maybe most important concept: It's called ALRRP. It's an acronym that stands for as low as reasonably practicable. And this is the ultimate balancing act. It means you keep working to reduce the risk until the cost or the time or the effort to reduce it even further is just completely out of proportion to the safety benefit you'd get. It's about being practical, not chasing an impossible perfection. These diagrams really capture the whole idea perfectly. It's basically a cost-benefit analysis for safety. You're constantly weighing the cost of adding one more control against the actual risk reduction you get from it. ALRP helps you find that sweet spot, right where practical resource use and smart safety meet. And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. When we use these structured techniques, from the risk matrix to the ALRP principle, we stop guessing and we start knowing. So I'll leave you with this to think about. In your own world, in your organization, how do you decide when a risk is truly acceptable?